could be more strange than space weather? The aurora borealis is a natural phenomenon that has been experienced on this Earth since the beginning of time. We've all heard about the northern lights, but how much do we really know?
So who are we? We are a multidisciplinary team made up of health scientists, biochemists, and an industrial designer. And now you may be wondering why we chose space weather, but everybody has heard of Earth weather, and sculptors have dealt with it before. But we believe space weather to be futuristic and mystical, and there's an element of the unknown. So why the aurora? We chose it because of its magnificence and natural beauty. It has also received a lot of media coverage recently, so it's very current. And for example, it was visible in Donegal in February. So we did some market research to develop our project. We sent out a survey and carried out peer interviews and found that the general public really wanted to learn more about space weather and thought it would be great to learn about it through art. We researched previous sculptures about weather to see how we could make ours better, and we met up with several mentors and professionals who gave us invaluable advice.
So the installation that we created is a real light, sensory sound installation inspired by the aurora. We have two different models that we're going to create. So there's a realistic model and an ideal model. The realistic model will be made of plastic and recyclable materials. We'll use dry ice to create a mysterious effect. Music depicting the human perception of the aurora over time will sound throughout. The more ideal model will be more of a planetarium or outside space-based piece, and it's also adaptable. We will use acrylic sheets, which is a slightly more expensive material. Artistic expression of data. So the stream of the solar flare activity will actually be encompassed into our piece using two different ways. So it'll be a strong aurora using this kind of color stream, and then a weak aurora using this color stream. We did lots of experimentation to try and recreate the aurora to see how we would recreate this and see what we could do. We did also lots of drawings and made a final prototype which is viewable next door. We also had lots of sound art going through it just to see what we could take to put into the aurora.
So just a little bit, why are we doing this? Sculpture, it's great, it's pretty, but what's the point? Do we even have a name, or is it just to get people to come in and say, oh, that's nice? No, we don't. We actually have a few things that we kind of want to get people to think about, because that's our first aim. We want to spark an interest. We want people to think. We want people to sit down and think, actually, because they see the weather every day. They see rain, they see the sun, they see a lot of rain in this country, but they don't actually sit down and think, what is the aurora? Why does it happen? Unless you're an astrophysicist, you may not actually know, and our surveys showed us that people don't know. We want to make people think. We want to make people talk about things. And that's why we're doing this thing. This is what our design is inherently about. You're immersing people in this environment of sound, this sound that we created. We're immersing them in this light, the actual simulation of the entire thing. And we're getting them to sit down and think, what is that? And this is why it's so good for education. My next point about art science as a form of education, because this is what the science gallery is all about. It's talking about trying to educate people about different aspects of the aurora, but in a kind of an interesting way. Because we're not actually putting people in an environment and giving them kind of lessons. We're not giving them pieces of paper that say, oh, this is this, this, and this. We're letting them work it out for themselves. We're kind of putting the light, we're giving the sound, and we're saying, ask questions. Immerse yourself in the environment. Look at everything. Use your senses. It's a sensory sculpture. That's the whole point of the sculpture. You go in, you use your basic senses, and then you come out and you say, well, what was that? And that's the whole point. We want people to ask questions. This is a new form of education. Instead of being ashamed of asking questions, oh, I don't know what that means, you go in and you say, well, I think it's this, but what is it? And I think that actually means something, because it means that people will be taking something from this. It's like a new form of education. People are actually coming in and learning something because they're asking exactly what they think. They're getting a whole different kind of education from the sculpture. Again, they're looking at the colours. They're wondering, what do the colours mean? And then you're simulating something that's really beautiful. I mean, that's kind of a bonus. Our whole point of this thing is to educate, is to get people thinking. And as a bonus, you have tourism. Because this would be a tourist attraction, not only for us, as in it's not only good for Ireland in terms of actually getting people to come and go to the places we want to put this sculpture in. You're getting people to go here, but you're also encouraging to people to say, maybe I want to go see the Northern Lights. That's also quite good.
So just in terms of material costs, we got a quantity surveyor to come in and help us estimate the cost for both the ideal and the realistic sculpture. And the one we choose would depend on the level of funding that we got. So yeah, as Alan mentioned before, the ideal one will be a little more expensive, and then the realistic a bit more, well, a lot cheaper actually, practically free, because we'll use recyclable materials. So as with any public art piece, it will only come to creation if you have a little bit of money. So we contacted lots of different organizations about sponsorship and grants and awards, and it came apparent that there were three main criteria for funding. So the first one was location, depending on where you put it, the ability for the art piece to travel and be showcased internationally, and if there was an educational aspect to the art piece. And this is great because we ticked all the boxes. We incorporate these three facts, and these are funding contacts, Dublin City Council, Visual Arts Ireland, Create, Fáilte Ireland, and the Arts Council, probably the most important one. So there are a lot of options for future development of our project. We want to create an educational module in TY. We want to teach people to recreate the Aurora in their own homes. We want the exhibition in Christchurch or the Pigeon House or CHQ building, and we might put it in the future planetarium if it ever comes to creation. So a bit about our transition year module. So we're going to call it Astrophysics Through Art, and it's basically doing the same thing that we learned in ITL but in secondary schools, and we'll teach them to merge the disciplines, and they'll come look at our sculpture, interpret it, learn from it, go back to their own schools, create their own little pieces, and then we'll pitch the schools against each other. So nothing like a bit of healthy competition. And so thank you very much for listening.
Guys, thank you very much. That was absolutely excellent. It was a great presentation. I really like the concept. I love the idea of engaging education and not just throwing material at students that they've got to engage. So that's absolutely top class. I'm kind of interested in, have any of you got thoughts on how you would sort of get momentum on this? Because for me, it's a little bit of a tipping point that you'd have to get engagement at the beginning. And I think once you get that engagement, there'd be a bit of excitement about it, and that could take off. Anybody, any thoughts on that?
The transition year module we're thinking of running before the actual exhibition opens, and getting the students involved in actually putting together the installation in Christchurch, and kind of spreading it initially through word of mouth. And then I think the great thing about recently with the internet is just how the ease of using social media, and I think things like Facebook and Twitter will be really important in promoting our sculpture, as it's free and most people use it, and just really accessible for everyone, so kind of viral marketing with that.
And we actually, because our sculpture will increase tourism in Ireland, we got in contact with some people from Fáilte Ireland, and they said if our project ever comes to creation, they'll help us promote it, no problem. So that's it. Oh, and also, yes, if we put it in the crypts in Christchurch, our contact Orla Ross said that she'd give us the space for free if she could try, and she'd promote it as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And there's this educational piece about the government trying to engage students more in science and maths. Maybe doorstepping the Minister for Education would be a good one as well. Congratulations, guys. Very well done. Thank you very much.